Hello, my name's Steve. I'm a bowyer here in the Pacific Northwest. I've been making bows for about 30 years or more. Been hunting with them for well over 25. I make wood self bows, and I've been a member of Traditional Bowhunters of Washington for years. Anyway, I'm doing a series on how to make self bows, and this is going to be on tools you're going to need to follow along on the series. I'm going to go through ones you really need to have, and then ones that would be nice to have. You don't need a lot, so hopefully you can scrounge up what you need. So first off, you're going to need some sort of a rasp. This is a farrier's rasp. They have a really good aggressive side and then a not so aggressive side. You can pretty much do everything you need with one of these. So that's a good tool if you can get a farrier's rasp. If not, you can use a regular wood rasp. Any kind of wood rasp that you can get would work. Once you cut down your tree and split it out to make your stave, you're going to need a way to take down your stave to dimensions after you lay out your bow. You can do that with just a regular hatchet. This is a woodworking hatchet. A regular hatchet would work. That's how I made my first bows. Just roughed them out with a hatchet and then went to a rasp after that. If you've got one, a draw knife would work really well for that. A little bit easier to control than the hatchet. But if you don't have one, whichever one you can find will work. You're going to need some sort of a saw, Japanese style saw, any kind of wood saw will work. Hand saw. If you have a bandsaw, of course, using a bandsaw to rough it out is going to be a lot easier and a lot quicker, but not everybody has a bandsaw. You're going to need some sort of tillering string with boots. These boots go on the end of your bow. They're made out of leather. They go on the end of the bow, so when you're flexing it, before you get it bending enough to put a string on it. So it's just a long string with these leather boots on the ends. You can make those. You might be able to find somewhere online where you can buy a set. I'll also show how you can get by without those, but that's a really important tool to have. Nice tool to have. You need a tape measure, yardstick, tape measure, some way of measuring. Tape measure is preferable. A pen or a pencil, so you can mark what you're doing. One of these compasses works really well for laying out your bow, and I'll show how I use a compass to lay out my bow, but you don't have to have that, but it comes in real handy, and these are cheap. They make nice ones and they make cheap ones. Either one will work. You need some sort of file to file in your nocks after you're done with your bow. Probably the easiest thing to come by is a small chainsaw file. You can use a small round metal file if you find one. This is an actual wood rasp one, these are super nice. You get these through places like Wood Crafters and some of the woodworking stores, but they're kind of expensive, so a regular chainsaw file will work for you. Something to scrape with, just a pocket knife works. I've done a lot with that. Actual cabinet scrapers would be probably preferable, but a pocket knife will work. Some sort of a scale so that you can keep an eye on the weight of the bow as you're building it. This one's a simple pull scale for like fish or something, but it goes up to 80 pounds. These are bow scales. This one's a Cabela's brand, but bow scale, you can buy them. When you pull on them, it shows the weight. You can use a bathroom scale with a tillering stick like this. You would put the stick on the scale put your bow on the stick, draw down the string, and that'll show the weight on the scale. I've done a lot with just a bathroom scale. For laying out your bow, I like a set of long string with a set of weights on the end of it. These are just fishing weights, but you could tie washers on there, anything with a little bit of weight on it, and that works really well when you're laying out your bow, and I'll show you how that works when we get into the series. And some sandpaper. You're going to obviously want some sandpaper. Some other things that you might like to have is this is a file card for cleaning your files. If your files get clogged up with wood, it's good to have a file card. You don't need to have it, but it's good to have. I'd like to talk a little bit about files. So this is a machine-made file. I'm gonna have you come in closer. So this is a machine-made file, and a lot of files are made like this. There's a machine that comes along and raises each one of these individual teeth, and you can see there's a pattern to them. And most files are made that way. But what I really prefer to use, or like to use, is hand-raised files. And sorry about that, my shop cat's up in the rafters. His name's Breck. Anyway, these hand-raised files, each one of those teeth is individually hand-raised, so there's no pattern. So when you're using so these hand-raised teeth, because there's no pattern to them, they cut a lot cleaner and they don't leave marks in your wood, and so they're require a lot less sanding when you're done. They don't leave grooves and things in the wood. These are pretty expensive. This is a Nicholson 50. They make a Nicholson 49 and a Nicholson 50, but they're really nice. This one's a French one. There's some different companies that make them, but they're really nice to have. But they are expensive, so you might not want one until you really get into bow making. Spoke shave, you can use a spoke shave. It depends upon the kind of wood you're working with, how well a spoke shave will work. But if you have one, it's a handy tool. These are the metal ones that you see all the time. This is a Stanley. Okay, so anyway, this is a metal spoke shave. These work really good. They're not my favorite. I prefer the old wood style spoke shaves. The metal ones, the blade angle's a lot steeper. These old wood ones, the blade angle's a lot shallower. They just seem to cut a lot better. But of course they're hard to find. This one was a kit that I made. I made this from a kit from Veritas. Veritas sells these old style low angle spoke shaves, but either one will work. We talked a little bit about scrapers. There's different types of cabinet scrapers. Actual cabinet scrapers you can get from woodworking shops. I prefer these. They work really good. You get different angles, so you can get into nooks and crannies and go around radiused corners and stuff with them. Most of the time, just a flat one will work fine. Like I said, you can use a pocket knife. You can buy all kinds of different machine-made, all kinds of different scrapers. This one has a blade in here that you can adjust up and down and gives you handles. This is one I made. This is one I made. This is one that Dean Torges used to sell and make, called the Bowyer's Edge, I think. Anyway, these are really nice. This is an old one that came out of, I think, Glenn St. Charles's shop here in Seattle. You can also get handles for the regular cabinet scrapers. This one, you put it in there, you tension a curve on it, use it like that so you're not hanging on to just the metal. but you don't need that. That's all stuff that's nice to have, but you don't have to have it. Small draw knives are nice to have if you have any of these small ones. A little bit easier on detail work than the big draw knives. These are two different types of measuring devices. These come in handy because you can measure the thickness of your bow, and you can tell if the limb's tapering good with these, and you can also get some widths on your limbs. This is a pretty cheap one made in India. This is a little nicer old antique one, but once again, you don't have to have these, but they're nice to have. For your cabinet scrapers, you got to sharpen these, and I'll go into how you use all these tools later as I use them in the series. But cabinet scrapers have to be sharpened. And to sharpen them, you're going to need some sort of a nice fine file, and you need basically this is an iron for after you file your edge and you get a burr on them, because it's the burr that actually does the cutting. You have to roll that burr over, and so these hardened steel irons is what you use to roll that burr over. But I'll explain how to do that. This is a Japanese style of rasp. It uses a bunch of hacksaw blades. So you've got the fine hacksaw blade on this side and more aggressive on this side, and you can flip this around. This is a Shinto. These are kind of neat, nice to work with. But like I said, you don't need them. Just a regular rasp will work. If you have it, oh, this is Breck, my cat. If you have one, a moisture meter can come in handy for telling if your wood's dry and ready to make a bow out of. But I can also talk to you and show you in the series how you can do without having one of these by weighing your wood on a scale, and that way you can tell when it's acclimated to whatever environment that you live in. This is a tillering tree. This is a tillering tree. You don't have to have one of these, but they come in real handy. They're not that hard to make. It's just a 4x4 with some plywood. You set your bow in here, and then you hook your tillering boots with your tillering string up to your bow. This attaches to the tillering string, and there's a pulley down here, and so you can pull back and forth and see the bow flex. Comes in real handy, especially if you're working by yourself. If you don't have one, I've used a mirror. You can flex the bow in the mirror, or stick the tillering tree underneath your foot, pull up and down on the bow, have a friend look at it, or have a friend pull it back. There's ways around it, but if you can make a tillering tree, they're real handy. This is a shaving horse. So you put your piece of wood in here, clamp it down with your foot, and you can work on your shaving on your bow. It's real nice. There's plans on the internet and things to make these. This one was made by a friend of mine, Clinton, for my birthday years ago. It all breaks down so I can take it with me when I go to demonstrate. A regular vise works fine. You want some sort of padding for the jaws. I use a piece of leather or a piece of rubber in the jaws. These are jaw covers. You can buy these jaw covers. You want some sort of padding in there so it doesn't mar up your wood on your bow while you're working on it. Most of the time I just use a vise when I'm working on bows instead of the shaving horse. I mostly use that when I'm on the road or demonstrating at an event. If you don't have a vise, you can just clamp the bow to a table. That works fine. That's how I started doing it when I first started out years ago. Sometimes I'd even hold the bow between my legs and work on it. So you can get around things if you need to. That's about it. I'll go into how to use all the different tools as I build the bow through the series. I'll use different types of tools and show you different tools you can use to do the same job. Ones that are easier to come by than others, and I'll show you the different ways to do those. So next on the series, we're going to talk about picking out a stave and how to figure out what size of stave you need for your draw length and the poundage of bow you're looking for. Talk about different woods, and hope to see you in the next series. Thanks.